Welcome back to another episode of Locked In. Tonight, I'm joined by Revel, my co host, and we're going to talk about will Alabama's quarterback right now, Jalen Milroe, actually be the starter in this coming up season? I think it's a important question to ask with a new regime in for the coaching, except for I think two coaches. So I mean, it's a whole new staff, a whole new system that they're going to be running. And I don't think it's one that fits Jalen Milroe as it is. I mean, most of us know he's not the prototypical quarterback who likes to stand in the pocket and pass the football, and he runs a lot. And I mean, he's very good at it. But does that fit Kalen DeBoer's system, who is the new head coach and who will run his system like he has everywhere else because he's a winner and he knows how to win? Well, what you'll see is new transfer Austin Mack. He was supposed to be Washington's new quarterback. He was supposed to be the new guy at Washington. And, he was recruited because he looks an awful lot like Michael Penix Jr., who is one of the most highly touted quarterbacks out of this past current year. So tonight we're going to look at Austin Mack because I believe Austin Mack could be potentially the new starter at quarterback for Alabama. Now, going through his film, you'll see what I just mentioned. The prototypical quarterback likes to stand in the pocket, pass first. You can even go and find him talking after the Washington Bowl practices when he early enrolled before they played Michigan this year. You can see him talking about how he sees himself as a prototypical quarterback, standing at 6'6", around 225 pounds. He has a big arm and he likes to push the ball down the field. He likes to stand in the pocket and throw the ball, but he's sneaky athletic where he can run if he needs to. And that was pretty much his words and verbatim. But I mean that'll show on the tape everything I just said. Rev, do you have anything to say about this guy before we get into it?
Before we get into the film, I kind of want to touch on the difference of scheme that comes with DeBoer taking over Alabama. He has a more offensive mind. He has more to say in the offensive game. Not to say that Saban didn't. Obviously, Saban had plenty of things to say about how that team was structured. But you saw different kind of offenses come and go during his time there with the different offensive coordinators that he had. And they had to adapt how they did their scheme and how they play when Jalen Milroe became their quarterback, because Jalen Milroe, as Chances already mentioned, is not your prototypical guy. He has great athleticism, and he can push the ball downfield when he needs to, and he can throw the ball. He's a quarterback, but he's inclined to move around in the pocket a lot more and make kind of the magic plays happen and run. With Austin Mack, he is not that. He is your pocket passer, and it's what Kalen DeBoer has shown that that's his thing. Obviously, he went out and he got Michael Penix Jr. He had him for 2 years at Washington in a very high-powered offense that threw the ball all over the place and had great success with it. And in recruiting this guy, and as we go through this film, I think you'll see some striking similarities to Michael Penix. But it looks like the next one. Uh, to speak on his size and kind of how his body type is, he's a little bit bigger. He's 6'6", so, and you can see in the film he looks like a giant. He's a big guy, and he weighs about 225, 230. They're going to put it, they'll probably put a couple more pounds on him of muscle now that he's at Alabama with their training staff that they have there. But he's a big body. He can see over everybody, and he's got a big arm, and he likes to sit in the pocket, and he likes to throw the ball, and he is deadly accurate. So I think it's a fair question to ask as far as, can Milroe shore up that QB1 spot? I don't think it's as set in stone as maybe some people would believe, because he does not match what Caleb DeBoer likes to run, and Austin Mack, as we will see here, really, really does. And this has been his guy. He went out and he got him. He had him for, he had him committed to him, and then he had him in the bowl practice. He's had reps with D1 athletes, with very good athletes. He had practices this year, obviously with Washington, that he was a part of. So he enrolled early. So he's obviously a smart guy. He's very committed. He was very committed to DeBoer in that program, and when DeBoer left, he went to Alabama. I think there's a lot to like here, and I think there is a reasonable question or reasonable doubt for on Jalen Milroe's side is can he hold up his QB1 position, or can Austin Mack take it over? And if you have any thoughts about this in the comments, let us know. I'm sure that plenty of people do have thoughts. And I'm curious to curious to see what Alabama and non-Alabama fans have to say on this, whether they even know this guy exists or whether they're excited about him. But let's get into the film and see a little bit more about it.
Yeah, this first throw, that is a rip, dude.
Just a
That
bomb.
is,
I mean, he's
like
wide
that.
open, but if you look at it, and we won't replay all these as much as we normally do, but I just want to kind of go back and show this. Obviously, there's massive spacing here that it's hard to miss this guy. But I mean, he almost throws him right in stride. He slows up a little bit to get to that ball, but I mean, it's almost right on. It is a heck of a ball. Obviously, he's got an arm.
Yeah, and I mean, usually you'll see quarterbacks that can throw it deep or, throw it like a bullet pass on a rope. But you look at the first play and he's got a bazooka for an arm. I mean, he
Mm-hmm.
can he can throw it up and drop it right into a breadbasket. But, you go into these next two plays and he also just throws his
He's
ball
got a
like it's
laser.
a yeah, like a dart, going at a dartboard. I mean, this dude has it all, I think. The only thing that you'd like to see more of out of this film as we go through and watch it is a little more athleticism displayed, but I don't think he'll need to use it a lot, as Penix didn't either, and throwing over the middle. As we go through the film, you'll see a lot of tendencies to be throwing outside, and some up the seams, but mainly just outside. There's not a lot of throws over the middle. I mean, I think it's probably due to like what they're running here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this dude is from California, playing at a big time school in California. They're pretty good, and he's playing against good players. So I mean, what they run works for what they're doing, but you just don't see them throw over the middle a lot, and it's a lot of their scheme and their play calling. No routes really to be seen over the middle.
So this play, you see him. He gets a rush on him pretty quick. He evades it. He's a big body. The rush was pretty bad, but nevertheless, he does move around in the pocket. He turns around, gets out, makes something happen, and makes still a good throw. As you've been seeing in some of these clips, I mean, he is throwing absolute lasers right to where his guys can get it, and that's just every kind of ball that we see him throw is right on target. It's right where you want it to be, and he loves these outbreaking routes. This is a big, just this one is more. He throws it across his body. He throws it more towards the middle of the field. Obviously, he's running outside, but this is one of those. Just hey, you got rush, you got a flush, make something happen, and it might not look like a good throw. And I understand that this receiver has to really come up and try and make this, but considering what's happening to him and how he's throwing this ball, he puts this thing in a place that only his receiver can try and go make it. And if not, hey, you live to fight another day. So it's really not that bad, and it's a great play by the receiver on it.
Yeah, there is one throw really across the middle, and his dude just sells into space and he hits it.
And he finds it. Yep, he's very quick with his reads. If we take more time down on this, you will see his face match. You'll see his helmet move to 1 to 2 to 3. You'll see that a lot. This time he knew where he was going the whole time. He looked down one, hit number 2.
Yeah, when he sees them out routes, usually the out
Yep,
route is where he's going. They like to get them out quick, and he
1,
has
2.
yeah, he has a very beautiful ball on them out routes, which a lot of people can't really throw that well sometimes, you'll see with quarterbacks, but he can absolutely throw it out.
The speed of this one, I mean, it's not even 2 seconds. The ball's already out of his hand, right to where it needs to be. They're very efficient. Obviously, those kinds of plays, he knows where he's going with the ball. He knows the kind of matchup he's got in front of him, and he also knows he's got dudes at receiver that can get some separation. But when you have those, quick hitting routes, the hot routes, you want to see a quarterback that can get the ball in and out of his hands as fast as possible, and he definitely has that attribute.
Yeah, and I know Kalen DeBoer loves seeing that since he likes to run that little screenplay out of his trip set where
Absolutely.
the wide receiver just goes out side and cuts up field after he gets the ball out quick. I don't like to see Kalen DeBoer doing a lot of that with this guy in the future. Said, but honestly, if you look at, I will get into it later, but if you look at other quarterbacks from Alabama, like Julian Sayin, who transferred out, This dude looks better on film than Julian Sayin did, if we're being honest. Probably just less athletic, but has better, I guess, not maybe mechanics, but better ball placement and arm strength and accuracy.
It's another one where the pocket kind of collapses a little bit. He sees that pressure, feels it, honestly. That guy's right on his back leg. Okay, I got hit. I'm going to extend it. Oh, I got a guy running the corner. I'm going to direct him. And then I'm going to put this ball to only where he can get it, away from his guy. I mean, that was good.
Yeah, this dude, like we talk about Kevin DeBoer wanting a pro style quarterback. This is what a pro style quarterback looks like. Take your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 step drop and just deliver it right over the middle of the field. I mean, that's just this dude plays in stride. He really does. He likes to throw the ball down the field, and we haven't really seen that from Alabama this past year with Milroe a lot. So I mean, I think that there's a good chance that this dude comes in and starts looking the way he does now.
So in this one, there's not really, I mean, he does have this route coming this direction, but I think this was his number one read for this, or where he wants to go with the ball is the seam route that he does end up hitting. I think he keeps his eyes left just to keep this safety away from his target. So he wants this guy to read his eyes. So he sits here and he looks left at this route for longer, and then he takes that seam up the middle and he gets him. So good discipline eyes. He's not looking down his target. He's looking somewhere else. He knows that DBs read him because that's what's supposed to happen. You're supposed to read in zone stuff. You're supposed to read the eyes of the quarterback. All right, I'm going to focus down here on my left a little bit, and then boom, hit the seam over to the right. So it's just great. Great discipline with his eyes, and he knows where he's going with the ball. A lot of pre-snap stuff happens with that too. You could tell that he's really well disciplined there.
And you'll see this in a lot, like you just saw it on that play. But this dude can get through every progression on every read on the field. He goes through his progression very good, especially being a 17-year-old junior in high school, and he will be a freshman in college next year, just coming right out of high school as a junior because he reclassified. So I mean, this dude has elite skill and talent to be the age he is and how raw he is as talent. And I mean, that right there, that's a 50-50 ball, but I mean, that's a high ball where his
Mm-hmm.
receiver is catching it high. So I mean, there's something to that because when you high point a ball, it has to be up high above their head, and you have to jump and catch it as vertically as you can, and that's what happens right there. It's not like that was a bad ball.
And I honestly think you put that in there because you could say, well, that ball is contested. If you throw that thing deeper, then maybe his guy has an easier time getting it. Yes, but also he is willing to throw those. And there is such a thing as quarterbacks that are afraid to throw a pick, and they're so afraid that they won't take certain shots or they won't make certain throws because they're too afraid of that pick. And while you don't want a guy throwing that every time he throws the ball, for sure, you don't want 50-50 balls going every single time that you're letting that thing fly, but you do want to have that ability to let that thing go and let your guy make a play. If you know that you've got a guy, which at Alabama he will, or before when he was at Washington he would have. If you've got a guy, sometimes it's just let your guy go and make one, and he shows within this film that he does have the ability to do that. And I think that's important. And then he has those where he just hits them right on stride, and it's a heck of a ball.
So this right here was his
It's
only
the one bad play in this film I don't like.
yeah, I mean, he just throws it behind his receiver on the out right here. And I mean, you could say, well, he saw the DB had leverage outside, so he throws it inside. But I mean, with an out route, you're trying to throw it outside. And I mean, you know, I really think that if he puts it out there, that's probably not a catch. But at the same time, that's where you need to go with out.
Yeah, with that one, the thought there is, especially if this DB is coming down and his eyes are on the ball, is that the DB has a lot easier time getting this one right here as opposed to if the ball would be over here. And if, let's say, he missed this just slightly, or let's say that the receiver doesn't make a great play on it, which he does, he turns his whole body and catches it. So that's a heck of a play by the receiver. If he doesn't do that, then this ball is hitting the DB directly in the head or the chest. So that is a better play by the receiver than the quarterback, but nonetheless, it's still a touchdown, and he does throw a dart, so it would be very difficult for a DB to just be able to go get it. because if they're not expecting that ball to be there, which they're not going to be with him, that's a hard one to come down with. But in college, against teams that you're going to be facing when you're Alabama's quarterback or possibly Alabama's quarterback, you are going to see DBs be able to make that play.
And going back to the out route, I mean, it's something to be able to throw that quick. You see the pivot there that we talk about where you
Mm,
catch it and I mean you just pivot and throw it and use your legs right there. I mean that's what you ask for right there, that one pivot and
yep.
then just use your arm.
He looks just like Penix right there. He has to go down and get that ball because it's not a great snap, and he still is able to get that pivot, that little jump move with his legs right to where he needs it to be, and throws it right where it needs to go. Again, he hits these out routes better than most high school quarterbacks that you'll watch, and then also he's got the great deep ball. I mean, this one just
I mean
dropping the
just drops
bucket.
it and that's on his back foot leaning back. So I mean like this isn't even him stepping into it. That's just all his arm. Which I mean you expect that out of a guy that's 6'6", 225.
Right. Yep. He threads this one right over the linebacker. In college, you got to be careful with that. Your linebacker's going to be more athletic. They're going to try and make a play on it, but still, he throws it right over to where only his guy can get it. This one, I'm going to go back to the beginning of this. Just to, if you time it, he gives himself about 8 to 9 seconds of ability for a play to happen from when the snap is first in his hands. He gets pocket collapses a little bit. He rolls out to his left. There's nothing there. All right, get away from the rush, going all the way back to my original spot, further out of the pocket, and then I'm keep my eyes downfield and find my guy. This is a heck of a job. I mean, he does look, maybe a little clumsy back there. He's 6'6", so he's going to look a little bit strange trying to run around because typically you don't see 6'6" guys move around like that.
He's also 17 years old. Like this
Yeah, he's
guy
young.
hasn't even developed into his body fully. So
You talk about this kind of athleticism to keep it alive, and still despite being rushed, despite being on the run, his eyes are into the end zone. He sees his guy right here, takes a step on the run, and makes a dime of a throw. So I mean, he's got all the things that you want to see from a quarterback. And then he also has a special connection with this number one. I don't know where this guy's going to college, but he will be a good player somewhere.
yeah, you see them running a lot of stuff that you'll see Washington last year
Mm-hmm.
run, or Kalen DeBoer more specifically. And I think that with this play, you can see him being used in that little quarterback counter run that they like to do with Penix last year. I mean, I think that'll work perfect for this guy. It's not that he's not athletic; he's more sneaky athletic.
Yep. This is a one and done read. He's got one key, and it's over here. He wants his guy. He sees that he can't get him because the corner is step for step, and the safety is over top. Obviously, safety bites on this route because that's his. But he sees that one on one. He doesn't like it. He could throw this out right here. He doesn't take it. I mean, if you see this like from the beginning, this is just wide open. There's just nobody there. But
But I
it's a
mean,
one and done.
you see this though, and he decides to run when he sees
Yep.
his body turn, and then the corner just absolutely going out of the way.
Right.
So I mean, you have all this space, and he takes it.
So your one read is what the corner does. Does the corner go all the way with him? Does the corner get slowed up? Does the corner look back?
Corner's
He's
body, his head is turned where that
Yep.
line is drawn. So I mean, corner's out of the play.
So you
He,
see him. He's reading that. He sees, all right, corner's going with my guy. I'm tucking this,
yeah,
and he gets 15 yards out of it.
yeah, he waits till there's no way anybody can really make a play on him to
Yep.
take that ball and run it too, which is very important. Not taking any hits. This play was a very good play, I thought, with the three level flood to the left side. You'll see a deep out, and then you'll see this guy run into the flats right here on a short out, and then 80 drag across with this guy running kind of a dig, but like a sloppy dig, and this dude running an out. And they'll get one, two, three, four, five, and six players all converging in this little spot right here,
Mm-hmm.
while there's three receivers on this side with three DBs, and there's just not enough because one is already down at the line of scrimmage.
So I like this. This is a like a personnel. So you got number one, which is his number one receiver, and you got number two right here, which is his number two receiver. And then of course you make trips with this motion. So all of a sudden that motion will bring over the safety. He's more playing middle now. And his top two targets, and this is just film study from this other team to know this, his top two targets are over here in this trip set. They are really concerned with what's going on over here. So you got, and really just from a numbers wise, this is really uh, silly because you're just creating so much open space to the defense's right. So defensively this is not good, but they're so concerned with what's going on with the trips and who is over here. They're overloading this. And the play is designed to go the other way, three-level flood, like Chance said. So there was your shallow out route. Your drag is coming across to keep everything, to keep eyes right on him, keep the linebacker coming up to take that away, which he does. You got your two pretty much decoys. If you see this, their routes, they stop. I mean, I know the ball was thrown, but these were nothing routes. These guys run really good ones normally. These weren't very good. This is just to occupy space. This is where he was going with the ball, create chaos over here. Have guys it's in front of the defender's eyes, so they come down to those routes, and you sneak a guy out here and touchdown. So it's a good concept, and it's a great job by him to sell all that and then make the correct read.
Yeah, I mean here, he just pre-snap reads this with the two safeties outside over top. There's nobody in the middle of the field,
It's wide
so I
open.
mean it's just wide open, and he hits it
And he
right on the
knows where he's
dot.
going, right? So that's something else you see from him is his pre-snap stuff is very good. He knows where he's going with the ball. So even though sometimes he doesn't need to go through a progression because he knows where that open spot on the field is going to be, and I think that's very important. Basically same deal.
Yeah, I mean just sees that safety trail off in the back. Very good reads, and he can go through his progression and look at him step up in the pocket. You don't really see that much out of high schoolers. You like to see them take off and not look downfield to make a pass and just run. Well, he steps up in the pocket and instead of, running for 10, 20 yards, throws it for a touchdown, an absolute bomb over some poor child's head that gets mossed.
So we got six guys deep on this. I mean, you got three really deep, but these guys are playing 8 to 10 yards off the ball. So their whole goal here is we're not going to let you bomb on us. And the response to that
And
is,
they're
"Oh,
in man.
you
Like
think so?"
it's cover two man pretty much.
And this is another one of those cases where they put in one of those 50-50 ball moments because he's got a guy that he trusts and he's going to throw that thing up there and let his guy go get it. And he still does place the ball well enough where his guy has a better chance at it than the DB who's running up under it. So still, I like that they put that in there just to show that he is willing to do it and he still places that high point ball right.
That's also the right read because
Yep.
you get that motion man indicator. He sees that, and if you see two high safeties, you're automatically thinking cover two. Um, and then you see it in the like when it goes through after the snap. So his after snap read is well, they got cover two with the safeties over top. They're in man. I already know that. So the best way to beat that, throw an outside ball usually to like a corner route or something, but instead this time it's just a vertical outside and he's one on one. It's a 50-50 ball, but honestly, it's probably an 80-20 ball the way he throws it and the way his receivers play.
Another quick out, guy clear space and deep, take the out in front, another touchdown, and boom, this is another open guy. I want to point out the DBs on this play because I saw this when we were going through it the first time, and
It's
it's
just,
just
it's really that linebacker, the same one that got beat earlier. I think it's this one.
so watch. One of these guys is wrong. So the corner and the outside backer, whoever it is, this guy jams off for a second, trying to pushes him off. But obviously, this linebacker, the way he plays it, he hits and then he goes to the backfield, which is pretty typical. This corner here, I don't know what he thinks his job is, but it certainly is not to come down
Yeah.
with this guy. So you just leave their best target. This is number one. This is the guy you see running over all these teams. Their best guy is just running down the field, and this backer doesn't have a chance. And then the
Yeah.
safety has turned his head.
Because it looks like they're running like a cover one man. Yeah,
So
that's just.
He finds the open guy though. He saw that it's from that break. Obviously, he wants to go to number one, so that's normally his first read on a lot of these plays. But he sees that, oh hey, my guy's streaking down the middle, hitting it, and that's, you got to hit the open guy sometimes.
Yeah, and right here, I didn't like that last play because
Agreed.
you'll see it right here across the
Look right
middle.
here in the middle,
There will be someone wide open.
right
He
there.
looks at it. He looks at
He
it.
sees
His
him.
his head is pointed right at it, and he's like, "Yeah, no, I'm gonna take the outside route." He rolls out of the pocket, and
Right.
he's great at rolling out and making especially on the outs. I mean, it's a good ball, touchdown, whatever. But for some reason, he just don't like throwing over the middle. I mean, you could see that dissipate when he's in college, maybe even this year if he starts over Jalen Milroe or gets some playing time in garbage time. I think this dude has a very high potential, though. He's very young. He has a lot of untapped talent, I would say. Very raw. But, I think the future's bright with this guy. Let Kalen DeBoer and his coaching staff work with him a little bit. And, for his system, I think he's probably the best fit on Alabama's roster. And I think that he has a very good chance to start this year because even if, Jalen Milroe is there, it's going to be open competition. Milroe probably has to lose his job more than anything.
Hmm.
And, that might not happen. I doubt it does, honestly. But just looking at it, Austin Mack is the next great quarterback at Alabama with Kalen DeBoer.
Yep, I think so too. I think that it is a legit, like I said before, it's a legitimate question to ask if Jalen Miller can lose his position. I think he can. I don't necessarily think he will, but I think he can. And it'll be interesting to see his progression in a new system if he can get his arm level higher than what it has been. Because I mean,
Well,
he's a great quarterback,
he
but
can't read as well
yes,
as him reading the field doesn't even look as good as Austin Mack reads the field in high school.
right. So he doesn't. That was it. I was going to get to that one the secondly, but you're right. So he has two things that kind of hurt him in DeBoer's offense, and his arm talent is not that of a lot of guys, but especially not Austin Mack, because that's what we're comparing him here to. Yeah, he can throw the deep ball fine, but when we're talking about making the really accurate throws in a lot of different places in the field, I would take Austin Mack over Jalen Milroe. And when we're talking about reading the field, I mean, if you slow those down, we did a couple times. You can see Austin Mack's head go from 1 to 2 to 3, or 1 2 3 4, or 1 2. He finds his guys and he reads the field correctly. When you look at Jalen Milroe, there's a lot of times where he has his number one, and then he'll run around until something else happens, or he'll go 1 2, and then he'll tuck it and go, and that's fine. But that's not what DeBoer likes doing. He likes having a quarterback stay in there, go through his progressions like a prototypical guy, and make good throws. So while yes, it is Jalen Milroe's job to lose, I do think that I think he could lose it depending on how much he shows DeBoer and that offensive staff as far as his progression. Can he make those reads? Can he learn that better? Can he make those throws? And he works on that this offseason, which I'm sure they will work with him, with. Or on the flip side, does does Mac look just a lot better in this scheme, even as a young guy? And that'll be the difference between, he's a lot younger than Jalen is, and he is definitely less athletic than Jalen is. So does DeBoer change his scheme a little bit to match more what Jalen is good at, or does DeBoer stick with his typical stuff, and Jalen just has to conform to that? And then obviously the third option is Jalen does not. They neither of those things happen, and Matt comes in, he takes over. And I think there is a possibility of that. But I do think that Alabama fans should feel good about the guy they have. Yes, I know Sayin just walked out the door, and I get that, it seems like there's been a fire sale of a lot of good players, but recently the bleeding has stopped for Alabama. And when you look at Max film and a couple other guys that they're going to be getting, I think there's some real hope there. And at the end of the day, this is still Alabama, and they're still going to have a bunch of dudes on the field. And I think they have another dude in Austin Mack.
Yeah, with that being said, I think the future at Alabama is better than it has looked in the recent month that they've had after Saban retires. They've got a few notable transfers in from Washington that Kalen DeBoer brought over, one being Austin Mack. So I think this new era of Alabama football is going to be very different from Saban's in terms of how they play. But I think ultimately it'll be good, and I think that Alabama fans have a lot to look upon for the future, especially with Austin Mack. Whether he starts this year or next, who knows? But for us here, stay locked in, everyone.